we want to call to order. So, I'll start with the MS 9 and 10. As I had emailed you guys, I apologize for the delay on that. I guess I overthought the historical relevance. Because when I asked out of the state, they said, oh, we'll have to look into it, and that's kind of where the delay has been. And I inquired about the fact that the deadline was the 1st, and they said because you've been in touch, it's not a concern. I spoke with Cambridge, actually, I don't know, watching me, but about 10:30 today.
Yep.
And they're going to be sending me it over today for it to be finalized. So I'll be sending you guys an email by the end of the day, likely, if not tomorrow, requesting your approval with the MS9 detail and MS10 details for you. Okay. In addition to the conversation with them on that, they informed me that the August and September bank statements are being worked on because of the transition, and it's taking a little bit longer, and then things will return to normal. So I don't have those for you either. The TD trust statement, I figured since we got it and it's unopened, you guys are more than welcome to open it as kind of a confirmation type process.
Okay.
I just figured since the opportunity was there, I might as well, that way it's not a printed document or scanned or copied, it's you guys opening it and being able to see. The interest has been very good compared to last year at this time, which is thanks to you guys switching over to TD, who's offering us significantly better rates. With the rate cut in September,
right, with the Fed.
we'll start to see it kind of trickle into the rates here as well as everywhere else. So going back to our discussion last time of the entering into the 2-year agreement, or not agreement, but bond, I believe it was, it looks beneficial at this point, especially where they're expecting to cut again in November and December.
Really? Okay.
That's what I've been told, at least once, if not both. And the reason, what I've heard in terms of the cuts, is by the end of the year, they're looking at 0.5, essentially. Whether they do it 0.25, 0.25, or 0.5 and see the next one, or 0 and 0.5, that is for those individuals that made that decision at Treasury. So that's where we're at with those. The next is releases that I have. You'll see this one is for the capital reserve for, I believe it's, sorry, this is expendable maintenance and reserve. Sorry. I'm not used to it being in the same disbursement account since we moved the expendable maintenance to the capital reserve bank account so it could have its interest and everything of that nature.
Rather than in the disbursement account it was for.
Right, rather than it being held in a separate general ledger accounting account. So now it's with those earning its own interest, standing on its own, similar to the roadway maintenance. So this one here is for the expendable maintenance. This is not for the expendable maintenance.
I guess we'll just scan through those. Just a quick scan through.
This one is for the fire department, fire equipment capital reserve. It's from the council order back in 2023-02. I'm not sure if you wanna. And do we wanna just do one at a time? That way we don't get confused, or do you want me to keep going?
I just need the time as we go along to capture them, that's all.
Okay.
We say the time? Oh,
Oh,
that's it.
the time for him to be able to capture the minutes.
you for a pen. I have plenty in my truck and I just.
That's how it always goes.
So sorry.
Do you need another one?
It's fine. Oh, I'll take it from mine. So the one you're looking at is for the master plan capital reserve,
Okay.
and it's for work that, the Southern New Hampshire Planning Committee or Commission, I don't remember which, commission.
Was there a previous order for this 10,976.85, or is that still pending?
So, let's look.
Cause I see the order for the 6235.90, I'm just curious about the other total.
It's coming from the operating budget. So this portion down here
Right.
is that, this is coming from the operating budget management services.
Okay, very good, so not related to a transfer from
Yeah.
trust. It's the hot swap there.
Thank you.
No, that's not a which trust again, I'm sorry, I should've.
That one is the, master plan.
Did this one meet your approval? Do you wanna sign that?
I think so, just one question,
Yes.
I only saw one invoice with it, so this is really giving them the approval to go ahead and purchase the stuff.
So this one is, yeah, so what this is, that's the fire equipment, right? Back with that council order, they got approved for 173,000, I believe.
Yes,
And they've been buying it as it comes in. This is that next portion. I've informed them that I don't like using a council order from 2023, and going forward, it'll have to be within the last year. So this will likely be the last one on this, even though I believe there is some funds remaining.
yep,
However, I believe they may have already ordered it, so don't quote me too much on that, but going forward, I've informed them that we won't be doing, council orders that are this old. They have to do it within a more close time span.
oh, okay.
But the invoice I thought matched.
It's just the hose,
Yep. So the rest of it had been previously approved or is still outstanding, so it's 23. I have to get a new book for this. So let's go to cemetery.
That's what I was discussing.
So yeah, this is an example of the previous one that you had approved. And I'll be honest, I think the others are in my prior year binder.
oh, that's,
I can, if you want, I can have Sarah come bring them down.
no, I
Um,
just wanted to be,
Yep, nope, that's exactly what it is though, is they've been doing it, piecemeal as they replace the equipment. Yeah, rather than, doing it all up front. Actually, I think this one, cause this one I questioned because of the delay since the request. and it was, I believe it was on back order for some significant amount of time. But still, it's been a while since the initial request from the council.
My signature gets worse as it goes along.
Mine can't get any worse. It's just the same.
So the next set we have is from the expendable maintenance, and it's for E&E systems. It's for, I believe, the work done at the fire stations regarding the hot water tank, and this one's the hot water tank for North Fire.
What fund again?
This is expendable maintenance.
Thank you.
And this is to replace the mini split also for the fire station. This one though is South Fire.
You need this to enter the data first.
I know we jumped right into business, but everything is well with you, I hope.
So, thank you for asking. It's budget season, so that's why I apologize, I'm a little scattered. The budget has been the main priority, and with 4 or 5 unions negotiating, that's also taken up a significant amount of time, and all the other fun that's going on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
What is the ending of our email address again? Change, so
Is it, I think you guys are TOL boards?
TOL boards, and that's .gov?
Yes.
.org.
Is it .org?
Yeah.
Okay. It's one of those, the change is good, better security, but it's difficult to get used to, and then all of a sudden it's, oh, I didn't change this, I logged into .gov yet, and all that. And then the switch over, there's some emails that I'm getting now from like June, it's like, I apologize, I didn't get that one. But things are going better with it now, and like I said, it's mainly at this point just all the logins I have, it's now switching it to .gov, and the fun part is the grant ones that I have a login on are more of a pain to switch it to .gov, even though switching it to .gov for a government website.
Yes, well, this one's gotta be worse because we're we're not on the Londonderry.gov, we're on the town of TOL boards
Yeah.
so.
So one of the other things I wanted to touch base with you guys, the library, as you guys are aware, the trust accounts have 2 or 3 different library accounts. They're gonna be looking into and researching what the history is of all those. As we're all aware, it's a little bit of an uphill battle where I think 2 of them were established in the 30s and 40s. One of them was established, I believe, in 80s, so that one should be a little bit easier for them to find information on, but they will be looking into that. With the budget season coming up, some of the capital reserves that we'll be looking to fund, at least from the town side, the master plan, the fire department equipment, the fire department truck, Pillsbury Cemetery, the expendable maintenance trust fund, and the roadway maintenance trust fund. Kind of the ones outside of the fire truck, which was new last year, and the master plan, which kind of shows up here and there as we get closer to actually developing the master plan. The rest are kind of the normal ones you'll see on a warrant article. In addition to that, I'm gonna look into the possibility of establishing essentially a police department equipment trust fund similar to the fire, where you look at it and all their stuff is getting more and more expensive, and rather than eating the operating budget for something like that, this will assist in doing that, if that makes sense, similar to how the fire does it.
No matter what, that'll come up with the voters and
Yes,
to
yeah.
establish that.
There's been talks of a, what is it, roadway safety, no. Of a traffic safety, I believe, capital reserve, to allow funds to deal with some of the traffic concerns that have been addressed by the public. Outside of that, there may be 1 or 2 others, depending on how things play out and what we can do within the RSAs to try to benefit the taxpayers as much as possible and eliminate situations from occurring that can be avoided. Trying to think if there was anything else I want to touch base with you guys on.
Can you refresh me? And I was distracted.
Yeah.
It's entirely my fault.
No, you're good.
On the discussion regarding the library trust funds and the questions there.
So they reached out to ask what the names were, so I sent them the names of the trust funds as well as the year we had them established, or the year that I have on our records for them being established. And they informed me that they would try to look into them as best as they can.
I think this was prompted by a couple of trustees because some citizens had attended the meeting and noticed that most of the fiscal information was held by the director and only some of it was filtering down to the trustees for their meetings. So some of the trustees had pushed for just a little more visibility on finances with the town and whatnot. I believe that originated some of that.
Yep, I'm smiling because yes, but that was a different fund that went
Yes.
to this.
Yes.
So the trustees of the library have their own discretionary fund essentially.
Okay.
And because they're trustees, they call it their trust fund. So I received calls from residents saying, how come I can't get this trust information? You should be able to give it to me. And I informed them that the trustees of the library are the ones that are responsible for it, not the town. They said, well, I heard it was the town, and then my mind went to these funds. I said, oh, maybe somebody knows about these funds. They didn't. They were talking about the trust fund for the, not the trust fund, the trustees of the library's discretionary funds. However, it's good news because they now are aware of this.
Yeah.
I had made them slightly aware previously when we found out about them, and I took over as the bookkeeper. But as we discussed, it's not, there's minimal funds in there, and depending on how it breaks out, there may be even less for them to be able to spend. But with that question popping up, it led them to say, well, let's see if we can look into it and maybe they can start funding things in that nature for that fund and have things go to there, or they can utilize that fund as they feel fit. But that's why I was smiling, was, yes, but the confusion is what led to the good news, if that makes sense.
Yes, and some citizens are more particular than others, so I'm sure they were glad to get the clarity also,
Yep.
so.
Nope, I spoke with them, and when I remember the call, it was, I'm not sure, I understand what you're talking, they have that one, they're like, well, no, I'm like, this trust fund is from like 1930. Like, if you have the information, please share. But,
It's one of the ones that we looked into and weren't able to dig up too much as far as source stocks. and whatnot.
exactly, but, the library, they are their trust funds, they hopefully will have more information so they can start being utilized.
Very good,
And it's one, and as I've told you guys, if you feel one of the ones that we know less about is a top priority, I will spend the time and resources into trying to find it. But where a lot of them have smaller dollar amounts, it just hasn't risen to the top of the priority list to spend where other items need more immediate attention.
Very good, makes sense.
Are there any questions for me?
No, I'm just constantly amazed that I can live on into perpetuity if I leave a trust to the town.
Well, it's one of my favorite stories is still the Ben Franklin one, where he left, what was it, $1 million for Boston and Philadelphia to not be touched for 150 years. And now that is funding quite a bit because all that interest that built up through all that time.
That's funny, I don't know if you shared that with us before, but that's interesting, I did not know
I
that.
think it was $1 million, but he left a sum of money for the city of Philadelphia and the city of Boston. I don't remember the exact reasons, but, and essentially said it can't be touched, and because of the laws, it couldn't be touched. And now it's funding various items, and he's helping 150 years later.
And set up a trust, give the future trustees and Justin something else to manage.
There was a quote from one of the Robert Heinlein, a science fiction guidebook that said, if I leave $100 at interest compounded over the next 2,000 years, it'll be worth this, which will be worth absolutely nothing.
One of my favorite writers, I appreciate that quote very much. What is let me scroll back down here, I'm sorry, so we discussed, so some of this won't come before us until next year because it would have to go before the voters in March and so on. As far as like library trust funds or anything from the school, do we have anything like anticipated business coming up in the next couple of months? And I'm getting ahead a little bit, we usually discuss that like when we start discussing scheduling other meetings. But
At this point, I won't have anything except for additional releases, which, as we discussed, can wait until a more convenient time. And if it can't, then I can reach out to you guys and say, hey, we need to meet so we can release some of these funds.
Yeah.
But outside of that, and I mean, here's the thing, that could change because the library trust funds, they don't necessarily need to go before the voters because they're already established. They're already established, and if they want to put money into it, I don't believe that would need your guys' approval. However, to take the money out is where it would need your approval.
Okay.
So if they find what the purpose is and they want to utilize it, then we'd have to.
Understood. What else do we have for financial business, man?
At this point, I can't think of anything else. Like I mentioned, I'm hoping, sorry to check my phone, but I'm hoping, nope, don't have an email yet, that they will be emailing me shortly with the MS9 and 10 that I can send you guys for review and then submit it and have that off the plate. And again, I apologize for the delay on that. Where we're in a situation where we have some trust funds that we don't know what they're for, I don't want to be the reason why the historical value disappeared, because I didn't ask that question, which is why there's been this delay.
Very good. good. Do we have administrative business, minutes from last month to review, anything like that?
I forgot to print those minutes out, I apologize.
Anybody get a chance to review them? I sent them to Justin to send out. I don't know if anyone had a chance to review them or recall. Minutes, I say last month, but minutes from last meeting, I should say, that was several months ago. Do you wanna just defer on approving those till the next time we get together?
Sure.
Yeah.
And again, I apologize for that. I've been mainly focused on the budget at this point.
Hey, you're not gonna miss that $400 from your check. Don't let it bother you.
When did we meet last? Was it July? Would be the minutes from July that we're deferring on.
Either end of July or beginning of August. Cause that's when Cambridge came in.
Trustee of the Trust Fund, the 25th of July.
Thank you. I feel like we've cruised right through. Do we have other business? Do you have any commentary or notes from
Nope.
some of the accounts we're reviewing?
I'm good, thank you. Nothing was
Perfect.
What else do we need or want to cover?
I think just setting the next meeting, unless there's something,
A warrant article to double the trustee of the trust fund salaries.
Square root of zero is still zero.
let's say that one you may get a lot of support on. You can multiply it by 1 million and people will still support it, cause 1,000,000 times 0 is still 0.
Well, yeah, I guess I could say, ask for the square root of -1 and then it'd just be imaginary.
I like it. What is beneficial then, other than a couple of council orders that may come through? Should we set for January or February? Is that too far out? Do you have any thoughts or input there for us?
So, January or February would be fine. My only concern is, should you guys have questions about any of the potential capital reserve establishments or external maintenance, whatever gets established by either the school or the town during the season. As I stated, I know we're gonna look for 1, maybe 2. But as we get deeper and deeper, that may increase to try and take advantage of the capital reserve external maintenance system. I don't wanna push it to January, February. If that does occur and you guys have questions where it may be too late for you guys to state something.
Even
So,
if we had questions, if it goes for the voters and the voters approve, we'll be managing it regardless.
yes,
correct?
100%.
Okay.
But if you have questions that you'd like to bring to I don't wanna silence you guys by saying, let's do it in February when the warrant article's already there, if that makes sense. As the elected officials who oversee it, I feel as though you guys should have some say in, or at least have some say, have input, be able to make comments before it's too late. Granted, you'll all see them and, they're not gonna pop up at the deliberative session, they'll be there before. But if you guys wanted to meet before then to do that, or if you wanna set it in January, February, and then should something come up where you guys have questions, we can set a meeting.
Okay, the idea is that we'd be more informed in advance of the deliberative session,
Right.
basically.
I don't wanna push it to there and have you guys feel like it's pushed there so we can't do anything. So if you wanna set it there and then essentially put an asterisk of should questions pop up during budget season regarding them, we'll have a meeting beforehand. I'm perfectly fine with that as well.
When was the deliberative this year, like February 9th or something?
It will
like that?
be, I believe it's gonna be the second Saturday in February. This is one of those, it'll be February 8th. As of right now, it's either gonna be February 8th or February 1st, but as of right now, I believe we're planning on the 8th.
Do you wanna plan on a January meeting? Do we feel the need to kinda get ahead of the deliberative session? Or do we wanna just schedule a meeting for afterwards to manage anything that comes up after the vote is approved or disapproved? What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I don't have any problem with a January meeting. I mean, that's 3 months,
Okay.
hence.
If we're looking at January 9th, which is another Thursday, is that something we wanna shoot for?
Okay, 11 o'clock as usual.
Whatever works for you guys.
Sure. That works?
Yep.
All right, we'll say,
Plugging it for the night.
schedule the next meeting of the trustees for January 9th, which is another Thursday, 11 a.m.
Ooh, 2025.
Hard to believe.
First time I'm writing that one down.
Almost shocking, this year's gone by rather quickly.
Yes.
You're too young to know really quickly. Now it flies by. It's like, matter of fact, we get so old, they ask us questions like, do you know what day it is? What day of the week is this? And you know what? It can be hard when they're all the same.
Somebody told me that what was the comment that was made, that the days go slow but the years go fast. I had a chuckle the other day because my children are rather young, they're 10, 8, and 6, and one of my children, we were talking about my father who was born in the 60s, and they said, were cars around and invented when Papa was alive? And I said, yes, cars greatly predate Papa. That gave me a good reminder of the view that children have on time frames.
I saw a sketch comedy show on TV that it was going over ancient artifacts, and it was like the cassette disc tape. And it's like, they used to use this to roll it back. I'm like, oh, God.
Pencils.
This floppy disk, it looks like the save button. That's what it was memorialized after.
We took our granddaughter to the Children's Museum, I think it's in Dover.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to one of the things, and there was a phone on the wall.
That's amazing.
What's that? You know, I remember when we had one on the table in the hall. There was only one phone in the house, and it was a 4-party line. So we had, I think, 2 short rings, but there was like 1 short ring, 1 long ring, 2 short rings, 2 long rings, depending on who was getting the call. But anytime you picked up, anybody else could be on that line because you're all connected. I went to a payphone to go ask her for my first date because I didn't want anybody else hearing me get shot down.
I remember making collect calls from payphones and just saying, like, come and pick me up at 7 was the name or whatnot. And we were living down the South Shore of Massachusetts at the time, and I recall when you could still dial just the last 7, you didn't have to dial your area code.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that transition when you had to start including the area code to get your call out.
Oh, if you ever get a chance, I forget the comedian's name, but it does this whole thing about when the state symbol on mail went from up to 4 letters to 2. And the group that got together to pick the 2 letters for each state, it goes on for quite a bit because you can see quickly that it gets bad, but when they get into some of the M's, I think it goes into this whole thing, they had to bring in a contractor, not a contractor, a contractor. He was the guy that invented ain't.
Amazing. I'll have to look that up. I'm very curious.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the briefest meeting we've ever breezed through. Do we have any other business before we before we wrap up? Let Justin get back to his valuable time. Thank you for taking care of us, as
Yep.
always.
Absolutely. And again, I apologize, I'm a little more prepared, as you guys are aware, but
I think you were duly prepared. The minutes is a rather I don't wanna say minors if it's not important, but if that's the only thing that we missed, I'd say you were still rather organized, so.
Just a quick
Yeah,
question too about the emails going out.
Yes.
So that will go to our,
TOL board, you
That-
guys
that
are all
one.
receiving them, right?
yes, and then,
Okay.
do you also like CC our personal ones?
I have been, because the last time we met, there was the issue of the transition where
Perfect.
you guys weren't receiving it or not.
Yep.
Are you still, if you guys aren't, if you guys are receiving them on the TOL,
Mhm.
I'll stop using your personal. I just wanted to.
Could you keep mine both?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect, just as a backup.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that either.
Perfect.
Didn't mind the extra time.
No, it was more, I didn't wanna spam your personal
Mhm.
with things, but I also didn't want you to not get the email because it wasn't going through, if that makes sense.
It's a nice reminder sometimes to check
exactly.
my TOL board's
Yeah,
email, so
exactly,
it's
yeah.
And if you
appreciated.
guys are good with it, then I'll keep doing it. I
Thank
just
you.
didn't want you to think it was me
Yeah.
harassing you, like, hey, how come?
Delete.
It was more just as I knew there were issues back then of it going through.
Okay, good.
We skipped on any like motions, cause our signatures on the cover sheet essentially functions as our approval. Somebody wanna make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Alright,
To it.
I'll vote in favor.
Yep.
That makes us unanimous.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.